Hello again. I've been fascinated over the years to watch the way that some black militants have managed to take offence at all kinds of ordinary English expressions on the grounds that they are racist and offensive. A few years ago, a Home Office minister used the expression nitty gritty at a police conference and immediately found himself in hot water. The police themselves were advised to avoid the expression. It is alleged to have racist connotations and somehow to be associated with the slave ships which brought captives across the Atlantic from West Africa. I give a link in the description to this video to a piece which discusses this. The use of the phrase nitty gritty is banned by every police force in Britain and liable to provoke accusations of racism if used in the presence of black people. This is, of course, absolutely absurd. Let's turn to the most authoritative work on the use of English expressions, idiomatic English of this kind, which is, of course, Brewer's Dictionary of Phrase and Fable. I have here the 17th edition. Let's see what it says about nitty gritty, shall we? I think this is why I depend upon books, because often on the internet it's possible to alter definitions and to backdate things, and sometimes you read things and they've been so altered it looks as though they were published years ago, but someone's been tinkering with it since. That's not going to happen with this book because I keep it on my bookshelf. Nitty gritty, the most fundamental and important matters after all superfluities have been cleared away. It has been suggested that it originally referred to the noxious detritus that accumulated at the bottom of slave ships carrying their human cargo to the USA, and as such it was widely condemned as racist in the latter part of the 20th century. It is true that it emerged from African American English, but there is no record of its existence before the 1940s, and any connection with the slave trade is vanishingly unlikely. It was, in fact, the first definite use found was in 1940. Nothing at all before that. It doesn't have anything at all to do with slave ships. And yet nitty gritty has now become a taboo expression, very widely taboo, simply because of this ridiculous idea that it's racist. I was prompted to think about all this the other day by a recent case at an industrial tribunal. The thumbnail to this video shows a lecturer who was sacked by the London South Bank University for bullying. He claimed inevitably that his sacking was racist, and I give a link to a news report on the case in the description to this video. His line manager said that the lecturer, who's a Nigerian called Dr. Mike Leary-Owen, was more interested in witch hunting than he was in doing his job. And of course, immediately, Dr. Leary-Owen claimed at the tribunal that witch hunting is a racist term connected with witch doctors, of which there are some in Africa, and that as a Nigerian he found it offensive. Let's see what Brewers have to say about this expression. Witch hunting, a particular pastime of 17th century Presbyterians. There's a lot about Matthew Hopkins and so on. In political usage, the term denotes the searching out and exposure of opponents alleged to be disloyal to the state, often amounting to persecution. See also McCarthyism. It was during the McCarthy era in the 1950s that the expression witch hunting was widely used. Some viewers might be familiar with Arthur Miller's play The Crucible, which is actually about witch hunting, and it was a parable about the McCarthy era. Absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with witch doctors. I dare say, though, that after it's been floated like this at an industrial tribunal accused of racism, in a few years' time, it will commonly become regarded as a racist expression, just like nitty gritty. Earlier this month, the same game was tried when a black ambulance driver was told by his boss that drivers like him were 10 a penny. He too beetled off to an industrial tribunal claiming that this phrase was also connected with the slave trade. It's not, and the case was thrown out. I give links to both these cases in the description to this video. Many black people in Britain are preoccupied with being black and the experience of living in a predominantly white society. Rather than attempting to do their best to fit in with the society as they find it, they try to alter and change society so that it suits them better and makes their lives easier. We need not investigate whether this desire is justified. It's enough to know that it happens. The efforts to change the way that we speak and the ordinary idiomatic use of English is part of this attempt to remodel Britain so that it is supposedly more welcoming and inclusive, to use a modern way of speaking about this process. As it happens, though, and as this sort of thing develops, words and phrases which have been used for centuries without remark must be jettisoned lest they cause the offence to people, even if there's no logical reason for the move. This is why we can read the most awful swear words in newspapers today, things that were once printed as F or C followed by 3 asterisks, but that racial slurs are now printed like swear words with the letter N or P followed by a string of asterisks. It will, I'm sure, amuse viewers that at least one police force in this country advises officers to avoid using the old-fashioned phrase good egg to describe a person of whom one approves. This is because the word egg occurs in the rhyming slang egg and spoon, which is sometimes used instead of an old racial slur.